Hello, welcome to another Minecraft update. It has been a while. I had taken a little break from, well, I definitely had not been spending several hours at a time per day in Minecraft for a while. But what I had been doing is periodically just jumping in here and there for 30 minutes, and it kept feeling like, oh, I haven't really done a lot, I haven't really done a lot. But all of a sudden, I realized holy cow, I have done a lot. And so I felt like it was time for a little bit of an update. Now, I don't know, in some ways in my mind, when I say I've done a lot of it feels like some tedious but important work. In other words, it doesn't feel like super epic. I haven't built a whole new wing of an entire town, but it's stuff that just takes a while and is important. And so I thought I would just kind of do a catch up video today of kind of where we were. So in the last video, I talked about a number of things. I just showed a sort of building that I had sort of modified from an original design and compared what that looked like. I showed a boat that I had copied into the world. It's this boat way out here, if you'll remember. And I was saying that I just kind of liked it as a decoration, and I didn't really feel like building another boat, so I was kind of happy to just plop that in. Um, and the rest of the time, or at least a lot of the time, I spent talking about roads and specifically how they look kind of very, very straight and how it's a challenge to figure out how you want to detail things so that they look more organic and just feel nice. And I gave a lot of suggestions about different things that I could do and moving the roads in and out a little bit to make them look a little jagged, maybe cut this here, maybe change the textures. So I experimented with a lot of things, and what I settled on is kind of something in the middle. It's not super dramatic, but I think it has really, really finished this off in a really nice way. So I didn't, as you can see, they didn't try to make the road some artificially kind of, you know, jagged or thing. What I did do is just put in some decorations and or decorations, just some landscaping and um, it's very it's very repetitive, but this is a city, so it doesn't really necessarily feel that bad to me to be like, yeah, there are like evenly spaced lamps and benches and landscaping. I actually think that that really just really felt really good. Feels like it just was what this needed to kind of make this feel complete. There are a few other really small things that I think, I don't know that I even necessarily consciously noticed, but I feel like if they weren't there, they make a difference. At least that's how it feels to me. So one of the little things you can see here is I mentioned in my other video, like maybe I would make these edges not exactly right angles. And that's exactly what I did. I just kind of took those little edges out here and just that little bit in the various streets around here. I don't know, for my eye, for my taste, I guess, it makes a surprising difference. And just little things here, like I raised these things where these entryways are into these warehouses. Um, you can see, and especially in this warehouse one, I spent some time uh, putting down some different blocks that are very similar but not identical. So this is like a called a brown version of gravel. This is a gray version of gravel. This is called small stone blocks. And so you can see I kind of tried to mix that up a little bit. Really what I tried to do is attempting to make kind of like as if this is sort of well-worn paths to these entrances. Um, so if we continue around here, you can see I continued this, um, made the kind of well-worn path thing in many places where you're talking about going into entrances, and just did little small things, just rounding off, not really rounding off, but just sort of breaking off the corners there. Those little changes to me made me feel really, really happy with how this all turned out. So so the next thing is little things, not big. I know in my last video I said, well, I'm not going to like go in depth on all the different buildings, and I'm still not going to, but I do want to update you when buildings kind of get done. So in the last video, I had shown this building and who knows if it's even if it can keep track of it when you watch these things. But I had shown this building, and I had mentioned how this one had this little tiny tower jutting out, and that this was actually where the inside. This is where the stairways wind up to the second floor. Um, and then going around on the back side of this building, I had just the ground for like a little patio area, but none of that was completed. So I was able to complete this all. There was no road here, and there was no other building here. And I had said I'm just working on going to put into some more roadways, and so I did that. So I was able to complete this building, just some variations, just trying to make the buildings have, slightly their own character. So this one has a little variation where it has a stairwell up here to the second floor and an entrance there. Um, and nothing much else super major around the back, though. It does have this second, like, I imagine this as like this building, basically like kind of an old style, old town, like little apartment on the back. Um, and the inside, I'm pretty sure, isn't. Yes, the inside, I just did floor, and I haven't done any further interior yet. That's typically the very last thing I do, if ever. And I'll come back to that and just play with it 30 minutes here and there over years. Uh, but the main thing I like to do, as you can tell, is really build the exteriors. So we completed that, and I've actually completed everything else on this upper level that is the harbor area. So the last video, I'd come over here and said we're going to put more stairs in and all that, but then coming around here was where I started talking about, yeah, I'm going to be adding a lot more buildings, and I won't go into major detail, and I still won't, only to say I'll just kind of go through and just briefly cover each of them. They're all filled in now. None of this stuff was here in the last video. So all of these houses here are ones that I made on my own. Like I basically had built enough of these other houses that I had sort of, had guides to help me get started and then to customize them. And it gave me enough of a experience and sort of a palette to work with. So I just kept trying to make some different variations of these different buildings. So this one, which I actually really like more than just some of them I'm more fond of than others. So this one has this interesting, so the actual entrance to the building is actually up the stairs. This is the main entrance. And then as usual, I haven't done the inside other than to put the floors in. So there's the sort of, the first floor here, and then there's a smaller ground floor area and sort of an exit into underneath. And yeah, it's that this building was pretty nice. Then if you come down the path here, similarly, I like this building a lot too. So this one stands sort of right on the edge. So the actual entrance, main entrance, is again up the stairs. And in here, in a different kind of door just for kicks. And as always, I don't have, I don't do interiors until much, much later. But I do figure out where, like, okay, where would stairways be to the ground floor? Yeah, the only place I did interiors was I had that one inn that I did interior on, and then your house. Well, I guess technically I didn't really put furniture in. I just made sure that every level could, had real stairs and you could really get there and stuff. Anyway, so yeah, so you come into this one here, and I just really like this one for some reason. I just really like the exterior as well. Um, I just think it just turned out very nice. And so then this one, um, I don't remember. I think I just was like, I'm gonna make like a bigger A-frame. So obviously this is a big A-frame building. Um, and it has a couple of different entrances, and I don't know, what could either these could be individual shops, it could be individual, like, living quarters. I actually, on the inside, I've just made it one building, but you could imagine putting a wall here and having it be like either some very, some smaller sort of living arrangements, or I could even imagine if you put a wall in here and it had stairways and second floor, it'd basically be like a shop. Um, maybe upstairs is sort of storage and goods. Maybe downstairs is where, the merchandise is. So there's that one. This one I take it back. So these were ones I just made. This is one I think, if I remember right, I think that I um, customized this one a bit from a guide, if I remember right. It's been a little while. So, but similarly, just variations on the theme here. And I'll give a look at it, but I won't go into much more detail. So anyway, these are the buildings that I needed that were not so much like, oh, I need an inn, oh, I need a warehouse, but like, I need the rest of this to feel like it's a living town, which means there needs to be more buildings in this harbor area. So yeah, so now this is all basically complete here. Um, and yes, okay. So the next thing that I did is if you look down here, you can, I don't know, if you compare it with the last video, you can definitely notice a difference, and that is that I have gone in here and I have basically flattened out the ground. You can literally see where it ends. And this is because this is all going to be town area, meaning it's all been cleared out and by people. And so I wanted to flatten all this out so that I could have something reasonable to work with. And then what I did was I just went ahead and just kind of further outlined um, it's because I know that, I'm not going to necessarily get to this for a while, and when I do, it's going to be very slow. I needed to do the best possible job I could of really outlining what I have envisioned in my brain. It'll be very interesting to see how it actually turns out, how much gets changed as we go, because there's always a little bit of that process. And if right now it's not entirely clear like what this is going to be, that's fine. I feel like part of the fun a little bit will be like watching it develop over time. I know what it looks like in my brain, um, and so the outline of everything makes sense to me. Um, but uh, but yeah, so the main thing was just getting this sort of really all flattened out and ready to go for like making this the next sort of major section of the town. If you look way back there in the horizon, you can see that I have plans going all the way back there. And the truth of the matter is, I have plans for all of this. Um, I have lots of plans. I'm hoping this will be just a nice, enjoyable hobby that I will do over many, many months. Okay, so the next thing I want to update on is the status of the bluff and some other things. So the next thing that I was talking about in the last video was how much of a hard time I was having sort of making roads and pathways around here, because it just, it's tricky. You have this, in this blocky world, you've got several things that are challenges. First of all, you've got to make these paths go in a diagonal and circular way, and they're all a bunch of squares. And then you have elevation changes that are also kind of a pain in the butt to figure out how you want to do this. And of course, it's Minecraft, so it's always going to be somewhat blocky. But I was finally able to get something that I feel like both feels good if you're just really going along as though you're just pretending to be a real person going through this world. And I also feel like it looks turned out very nice if you're like flying through the world and checking it out. So I am finally very happy with how these roads are turning out. Um, Additionally, you can see all kinds of little stuff that I won't even probably get to in the video because it'll be too long. But you can see I've started to really add in a lot of the details. So here's the pathway up to your house. There's now suddenly a tree. Obviously, you can see I've done a little landscaping around this area. Similarly over here, sort of put the pathway in. I believe the last time I did this video, this house was just kind of floating. I had after I built it in the test world, and then I dropped it over here in this world, and I have done all of the landscaping or the terraforming or whatever to make it actually sort of sit in the world here like a real house. The same thing is true with this building up here. This building was kind of floating in the air. Some of it was on land, but all this hill didn't exist like this, so I've built all of this up and gotten it to where it's actually really sitting. And you can see that we're working on the roads. It takes a lot of time. It's a slow, annoying process. Especially now, you can see I'm like going through the side of this hill. Ugh, this is really annoying to try to make that look good. Um, but we're getting there. And then you can see there's a new building over here. And this one is a super interesting building. So I watched a guy who wasn't exactly doing a guide. What he was doing was he was live streaming just a creative build where he's like, I'm going to just start building a building and just kind of see what happens. And he ended up with something that I really, really liked as a reference. And so I really took what he had done and then just kind of turned it into my own. Now, because this particular building is so wild. I mean, it's not wild in terms of if you just walk by and see the building, but in terms of building in the world, you know, it's it has very little symmetry. It's kind of looks like it's been sort of added onto over time. It's really taken on kind of a life of its own, and it was really complicated to build. Sorry, this side isn't going to be very bright because the sun's in the background. But I also think two things. One, I think this building really fits nice in this world and up on Rich People's Bluff, and I think it also looks really, really, really cool. So I'm really, really happy with how that turned out. Now, as you can see, I've started trying to figure out what how I want this to sort of fit into this hillside. And for a lot of these, I built up the hill. But in this one, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to actually just have this sort of like built down. And I'm going to have to decide what I want to do about the entrances. This would actually be where the entrances would be. And I'm not sure. I might have kind of rework the hill so maybe it comes up a little bit higher. Maybe there's some stairs. But obviously, these are things I still have to figure out. These are doorways right here as well. And so on this side, I'm going to have to kind of figure out how I want that to work. But you can see it basically taking shape. Um, so yeah, so that's new. And then the last major thing here is the thing that I had been putting off and putting off and putting off and putting off is that I have finally started working on the outside walls to wall off this side of the town. And I have been putting this off for so long because it is a major, major pain. Um, just like with the roads, you have the similar problems trying to make a wall. You know, they don't go in straight lines and right angles all the time. So you've got to figure out how to make a wall that can kind of curve or angle back in places. You've got to figure out how to make a wall that has this kind of architecture, then figure out what it's going to look like to turn it at a right angle. You've got to figure out how to make something that looks okay when you have to change elevation up and down as the landscape changes. So it requires you to sort of build in these little tiny little chunks. Now I can copy this once I create it and then paste it in and paste it in. But man, getting this all line, first of all, just figuring out what would work took forever. I had to delete a big chunk of wall because it doesn't really matter, I guess, but I started with just two spaces rather than three, and then I realized that had unintended consequences that made all of the trying to turn corners and symmetry all off, and it just looked horrible. So I had to redo all that, and then I had to start from scratch. And anyway, but I am finally getting it going. And what that means is now there's this. If you've been filling in a little bit of the world back here, there's actually some additional space. Not entirely sure what I'm going to do with this. Probably it's just going to end up being some kind of a building right in there. Um, and this will also finish off the streets where the roads will go here and come around. Now here's where it gets tricky. So I have these two entrances. This was always part of a plan. If you remember, down here was the tunnel that I was talking about. And I was talking about how this tunnel was going to let you into the main docks, or if you turned right here, it would let you go up to the other shops and up to Rich People's Bluff, and that this was going to go out past the wall, and this would be like the harbor side gate entrance into town. The main entrance into town will be totally on a totally different side. But now I have to figure out how exactly I want to do this. Because as you can tell, the ground level here kind of comes out to sort of about here. And I actually I'm not sure that I want this entrance to enter into this top level. I think I might do something where there's stairs down and this entrance really just takes you right into the underground tunnel because I have another entrance here. This entrance that comes through. This one can definitely be to the above ground. And so I haven't totally decided yet. If I don't do something where I kind of design this so that you're basically immediately going down, then you have some weird thing where you've got some street here, and then you have to figure out you're going to have some weird hole in the middle of it with stairways down, and I don't know. So, yeah, those are my problems. It's probably a boring video. I'll stop talking about that. Um, and you can see back here, there's lots of stuff to still do with the walls. That you've got to get them to all fit the landscape back here, and this is where I've had to turn, and I've got to figure out how to fill that in, make it clean, and then we're continuing to go over here, and we've got all this weight to go still. But I will tell you this, it feels really good to have gotten that started, even though it still is a work in progress and it has a lot to be done. Just being able to see how much of that I've begun, that actually feels pretty good. It feels like a lot of meaningful progress. So those are my updates. Sorry, it's been a while, so it's a little longer of a video. Um, if I do more frequent updates, I'll try to keep them a little bit shorter. Um, please let me know if this is just more than you can stand. Otherwise, I will update you next time when I've got some more stuff done. All right. Bye bye.